Hi, I'm Peter Hentz, and I was one of the concept artists on Sundown. This project was Rare's second foray into the horror genre. It was set in a world where a biological parasite which infects and mutates living organisms had caused a catastrophic breakdown of society. The concept art team were tasked to create a host of monsters that would shock and repulse the player. Creatures from your worst nightmares. In terms of visual design, we took a lot of inspiration from John Carpenter's 1982 movie, The Thing. Body horror at its finest. There's something terrifying about seeing the human form warped into a hideous monstrosity. This sense of disgust was something we really wanted to key into in order to put the player on edge and instill a real sense of fear. Mother Nature also provided us with a great source of inspiration, and we drew reference from a whole host of weird and wonderful creatures, from larvae to deep-sea creatures, studying their strange forms and textures. Players would find themselves traveling through deserted towns and homesteads. The idea was that you could move around during the day, searching for medical supplies, food and weaponry. Ultimately, you'd have to find a place that you could fortify and rig with traps, because when the sun went down, these infected creatures would descend in their droves looking for their next victims. Thematically, we were looking at the source of the infection being linked to a parasite that contaminated the water supply. When it comes into contact with a host, it bonds with them and mutates their DNA, forcing physical mutation. The victim's transformation would happen in stages, beginning with slight variations to the human form and progressively warping the host into a twisted, visceral bundle of flesh and claw. The host would take on the characteristics of the parasite: bumpy, translucent skin, tentacles, and sharp, bony protrusions. Like zombies from George Romero's movies, the infected were driven by the mindless, singular purpose to consume and could never be bargained with. One of my favorite monster designs was Fingerbelly. This poor guy has really had a bad time of it. Most of his body's been given over to this horrendous mouth. The mutations between bloaters would vary dramatically. Some would split in half to expose a large creature. Some appeared to look like pregnant women, which would crawl after you and spew forth a horrible mass of limb and tentacle. We also explored the idea of having infected children as an enemy. We called them crawlers. They were small, elusive, and fast, scaling any surface with ease, allowing them to ambush when you least expected it. Infected children were never as horribly disfigured as their adult counterparts, as their sole purpose was to transfer the infection. It created an uncomfortable dilemma for the player, as you naturally wouldn't want to harm a child. Since the player was to carry guns and improvised melee weapons, it seemed the players might take a more harsh and final approach to dealing with them. Ultimately, this didn't sit well with the team, and we decided to drop the idea of having infected kids. Sundown was a great project to work on, and even though it didn't continue, it was given a chance to shine in one of our studio's creative jams. A new team within Rare picked up the idea and created a prototype over a few weeks that showcased some of the survival features.